Lightning center Luke Glendening described last night's game the best when he said, "It wasn't pretty, but we got it done." And the Lightning certainly did with a huge home win against a divisional opponent right after their star rookie was sent down to the AHL. But how long will he be down there? All that and more to be discussed on today's episode of Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Josh Sperber here, giving all of you a big welcome and thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if your team is the Tampa Bay Lightning, then this is the show for you. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. And we will get started with a big win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. First of 4 consecutive games against divisional opponents and the first of 2 games in 3 days against the Ottawa Senators, the team immediately ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning in the standings. As Luke Glendening said, it wasn't pretty. A couple of injuries for the Lightning, big back and forth after the Senators scored the first goal on a power play and scored one after the Lightning got home an empty net. 15 seconds after the empty net goal, the Senators put their third of the game in, but ultimately it was the Lightning who went out ahead by a score of 4-3. The Lightning had 10 more shots on goal than the Senators, 38-28. But they got hammered on the faceoff, went 1 for 4 in power plays. The Senators won out of 2. Still got the victory as Ottawa won in Ottawa. The Lightning got the first game in Tampa, and now the two teams will play each other once again on Thursday at Amalie Arena. And it was something that the players had been saying really since the last game against the Islanders back on Saturday, something that they said before the game on Tuesday against Ottawa. It really felt like a playoff atmosphere from the large and loud crowd, 399th consecutive sellout. So if the Lightning sell out on Thursday against the Senators, it will be sellout number 400 in a row. But by any metric, that really seemed like a playoff game in Amalie Arena, and John Cooper certainly agreed.
It probably would have had more if it wasn't just, kind of trying to survive, have enough guys to throw out there. It was felt like every shift somebody was coming off hurt, and but those are how playoff games are. And again, it's game 52 or whatever it was, but it's rare in this league that you play the same team in the same venue twice in a row, and especially when you're same division and fairly close in the standings. So does this one probably mean a little bit more now than it would have in October? There's no question. But getting through this one without giving them points was big for us.
And it certainly was, because now the Lightning are in a position to take third place from the Senators when they return to Amalie Arena on Thursday. Ottawa with 2 games in hand, with the Lightning with 2 games in hand over the Senators are 2 points behind Ottawa for third in the Lightning division. Hopping the Bruins with the victory today did Tampa. And a win with the 2 games in hand, a win will give the Lightning sole possession of third place and put them 2 points behind the Maple Leafs for second in that Atlantic division. So that playoff atmosphere of this game was certainly not lost on anyone. And the Lightning really played like it. Had some tough breaks. Again, it was at a hard time getting the puck in the net. Anthony Cirelli was stopped on a one-on-one breakaway, and then the Lightning seemed to get a goal right after that, but it was waved off within the first 7-8 minutes of the contest. Right after the Lightning's first power play, Zemgus Girgensons got knocked down on a one-time attempt right in close. I mean, we can keep going on and on about it. And honestly, one of my favorite tweets about the first period came from the account Bolt Fanatics, that the Lightning outplayed the blank out of the Sens this entire period and we're down 1-0. And that's really how it seemed to start for the Lightning. It really seemed like at the beginning of the game, it was going to be more of the same. After the first period, the Lightning had won 11 faceoffs to Ottawa's 8. And they outshot the Senators 14-8, the largest margin between shots for either team in a given period in the game. So it really seemed like we were all going to be in for a long night as Lightning fans after that first period, but the Lightning certainly rebounded. In the final 2 periods of the game, the Lightning got a key goal that either tied the game or gave the Bolts the lead in the first 2 minutes of that second and third period. Nikita Kucherov on a power play, Brandon Hagel with a really nice solo goal. And of course, inside the 2 minutes, that Luke Glendening tip-in from the Lilleberg, I'm not even sure if it was a pass or a shot because it was just a simple redirect, perfectly executed between Lilleberg and Luke Glendening. And the Lightning improved to 12-0 in the 12 games that Luke Glendening has scored for the Lightning. 1 multi-goal game for Luke, and only victories when he ended up scoring. It was Glendening's first since December and his first in 2025. And the Lightning did improve the power plays as games went on, but the injuries were certainly a problem. Nick Paul left the game earlier in the first period, did not return. In the second period, Anthony Cirelli left late in the period, did return later in the third, ended up getting an assist on Ryan McDonough's empty net goal. So hopefully Cirelli will definitely be back, but there was no update on Nick Paul after the game. And the Lightning moved the puck really well. I think their passing was about as crisp as I've seen it, and that really helped. I mean, you could really tell that this whole team just channeled the whole playoff vibe. I mean, this was a large crowd. There were definitely some Senators fans in attendance, but they were dwarfed by the Bolts faithful at Amalie Arena. I mean, there was no question who the home team was, as it should be. But I think the home ice advantage certainly played a part in the victory. Getting that power play goal was big because that was one thing over the first couple of periods until that Kucherov power play goal. The Lightning had already been on a couple of power plays before that, 0 for 2. The Senators got their first goal on the power play, and that seemed like it was just another metric of, all right, we're playing just as well, if not better than these guys right now. They've had 1 power play. We've had, 2 or 3 at the beginning of the last one, and still haven't put one in. And the Lightning were able to get that monkey off their back and get that crucial power play goal from Nikita Kucherov that actually broke the tie between Kucherov and Victor Hedman for Lightning's career assist record, as Victor Hedman got his 606th career assist to Nikita Kucherov, breaking that tie for first all-time among the Tampa Bay Lightning. But I think the injuries are certainly going to be tough. But we might see some extra movement with the Lightning depending on the Nick Paul injury. And if Anthony Cirelli needs to miss time, I think it was a leg injury for Cirelli because I saw him in the locker room after the game, and it looked like his right leg by like the quad and the hamstring area looked just bigger than his left leg, but he wasn't limping, certainly didn't show any signs of being hurt. So that's definitely a good sign because the Lightning injuries, I think, were the biggest point of frustration in that game, because all in all, it was a pretty solid game for the Lightning. You'd like to see maybe a little bit more goals, but Vasilevsky made some pretty amazing saves, especially at the end of the game to keep the Lightning ahead. And there were definitely some good saves on the other side from Linus Ullmark, but it was fewer of the how did that not go in kind of saves that we've been seeing from opposing goalies of the Lightning over these past couple of weeks. And it seemed like, for the most part, when the Lightning had a clean chance, when the Lightning had a good look on net, those went in. And that is hopefully a sign of things to improve with 3 more divisional games coming up this week, including a date with the Senators on Thursday. But one big thing that was announced before the Lightning's game against the Ottawa Senators, for the first time in his NHL career, Conor Geekie was sent down to the AHL and will be playing for the Syracuse Crunch for the foreseeable future. Injuries might play a factor in this, so we might see Geekie do an up and back if Nick Paul is forced to miss Thursday's game, or any part of the road back-to-back against other divisional opponents. But how long will Conor Geekie stay down in the AHL, and why was this a good move? Super Bowl 59 is here on Sunday. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even just betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get it in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the Super Bowl unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature on FanDuel.com helps you stay involved no matter what happens on the field. And the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. So download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started today. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That is FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, the official partner of Super Bowl 59. So, big news for the Lightning and somewhat surprising news. After about 50 games in the NHL, Conor Geekie was sent down to AHL Syracuse, marking the first time in his Lightning career where he is going down to the AHL. And he went straight from the WHL last year to the Tampa Bay Lightning this year. But this was not as sudden of a move as some may think. Before the game, John Cooper revealed that in discussions between himself, Geekie, and the Lightning GM, Julien Brisebois, this was always part of the plan. Conor Geekie was going to spend some time down in the NHL during his first NHL season. That was inevitable. It was something Geekie knew about. It was something that was, well known throughout the entire management chain. But something that Coop also did say is that it's a credit to Geekie that he stayed in the league as long as he did. I was one of the people on this podcast saying that I think Geeks would benefit from starting his career in the AHL just to kind of warm up to that higher level talent that he will inevitably face in the NHL. But I mean, this was not any kind of testament to Geekie's play. It is just about keeping him in the right mindset to be an NHL player and making sure that he has all the skills that he needs to be successful with the Lightning over the next few years. And another thing Cooper said about Geekie getting recalled to Syracuse is that it's not about, they don't want Conor Geekie only to play 50 games in the NHL. They want him to play 15 years in the NHL. They know that he is a blue chip prospect with a whole lot of talent and loads more potential. So the Lightning are trying to do everything in their power to shape their future, maybe even build it around Conor Geekie, because you look at all the other Lightning stars, Braden Point's 28, Hagel is 27, Cirelli's 27, Kucherov is 30. You've got guys that are hitting or in their prime right now, but the younger players, the building blocks for the future, are something that I think the Lightning are lacking. And that is where Conor Geekie comes in. That is why I think he got sent down to the NHL. Not because he didn't have success in his time in the NHL. In the 50 games he played, or 49 games, I should say, he finished with 12 points, 6 goals, and 6 assists, was in the top 5 among all Lightning forwards in hits, with only 14 penalty minutes, and had a plus-minus of -3, which is not bad for a rookie. I mean, I don't think he was on the Calder Trophy ladder that high or anything. I don't think he was someone that was expecting to win that Rookie of the Year award, but he was certainly in the mix. He's certainly one of the better rookies, because not a lot of players in their rookie season get significant time in almost 50 games and get double-digit points in their first season in the NHL. Most people in the league playing their first season, not all of them have the same kind of pedigree that Conor Geekie does right now. So he has certainly gained valuable experience, but I think it's important for him to get some more development in the NHL. And honestly, I think it could help. Again, I said that Geekie should have started his career in the AHL, gone up there a couple months. At that point, the Lightning were still really considered a rebuilding team with not much known about how the Lightning were going to be able to start their season without Steven Stamkos. But Geekie earned his way on the Lightning roster. It was spoken by just about everyone among Lightning brass that Geekie was supposed to start the season in the AHL, but he played his way. He forced his way onto the Lightning roster with his play and his physicality in the preseason. And the Lightning saw enough that said, all right, this is one of our better forwards. And that part, I don't think has changed. Conor Geekie is still the Lightning's best prospect and they're one of their better and probably their best young player. But him going down could potentially open the door for some other of their younger players, like Dylan Duke, like Jesse Elonen, that are in Syracuse and also deserve a shot in the NHL. And Gage Gonzalez, whose return to the NHL immediately preceded the call-up of Conor Geekie, because he was someone that I don't think the Lightning wanted to send down the first time he got sent down, because like Geekie, he's young. Gonzalez is 24 years old, one of the youngest players currently on the Lightning roster, if not the youngest. And he certainly has earned his way to the NHL. A couple of games back in the AHL after he got sent down, it was very clear that he was too good to be playing in the AHL, and the Lightning pretty quickly called him back up. And honestly, that's what I think could happen with Conor Geekie. I think the Lightning will be a bit more conservative in how they develop him, because they gave up Mikhail Sergachev, the second highest scoring defenseman in Lightning history, for Conor Geekie. So they clearly think very highly of him, and they want to get the best out of him at the NHL level. And in some ways, I think they have. I think they've hit, just the tip of the iceberg, really, with Geekie's talent, because I think there's so much more that can develop. But, there's some of the confidence that you can get going down to the AHL from the NHL that I think Geekie needs right now, because he hasn't scored a point in a few games. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks since he last scored a point, almost a month. He had a goal against Boston and his brother Morgan Geekie on January the 14th. Since then, Geeks is combined for a plus-minus of -5 and has not put a puck in the net. But he definitely has shown that he belongs on this Lightning team going forward. I don't by next year even, sending him down to the AHL, I think, will be completely out of the question. And I think he will be a solidified piece of that Lightning second forward line with Hagel and Cirelli on the left and in the center, because they worked really well together. But I think it's going to be important to add some more confidence to Geekie's game going down to the AHL and hopefully dominating. I mean, that's what you'd expect from a guy who has been playing against the best players in the world at the NHL level for this entire season so far. He's played, 49 of the Lightning's 52 games. He's played, pretty significant role in their team. But you can still tell that there's some parts of his game that need some polishing. He's very physical. He's a really solid defensive forward. His offensive play, I think, can improve, and I think that's going to be a main focus of Geekie's time in the AHL, is just making sure that he can get more consistent on offense, knows good times to pass the puck, knows the right times to shoot it for a shot, and shoot it when he's just looking on the rebound. And even get better on the power play, because that is always a very important part of the Lightning's game, as mentioned by Brandon Hagel in the post-game press conference.
Yeah, huge. Obviously, that takes us to lead there. And I think, when power play struggles in your game, it's good. But at the same time, when it's not going in, hopefully momentum's coming and you're getting some chances on the power play. And I think we did that tonight a little bit. Obviously, on the third one there,
of course, Hagel's comments on the power play really referred to how the Lightning played on the power play and how that kind of shaped the game against the Senators. But, I mean, it's still the power play is a big part of the Lightning's game, and Geekie has not been featured on too many power plays, still put up 2 power play points, a goal and an assist on the power play for Geekie. Both have come spread out pretty far between. So I think the Lightning are sending down Geekie to the AHL with the idea of making his offensive game more well-rounded, more consistent, and making him a bigger threat on the offensive side of the puck. However, with a potential long-term injury to Nick Paul, we're hoping that Cirelli coming back to the game against Ottawa means that he's going to be fine and safe from a little injury layoff down the road. Nick Paul, we're not as sure about. So Conor Geekie might have to come right back up while Nick Paul rehabs his injury and gets back to full health. Certainly a candidate for that, but you can also look at some of those younger guys and try to give some of the other rookies their first chance at the NHL. But I do expect to see Geekie back in a Lightning uniform this season, whether it is out of necessity because of the injuries that they've been suffering recently, or just down the road closer to the playoffs, bringing him back up to the NHL where he belongs. Because I truly believe that Conor Geekie has established himself as a rosterable NHL player. I don't think there's a team in the league that couldn't use Conor Geekie on their roster right now. But I think that going down to the AHL could certainly help him fine-tune his game, make him a better player in this season and the many years that the Lightning plan to have Geekie a featured component of their offense. And the other player in that trade that came to the Lightning along with Conor Geekie, J.J. Moser, who has been practicing consistently for the Lightning for the better part of 2025. He has not played since December, and the Lightning have gone in and out of the playoff spot the final playoff spot in the Atlantic Division. It appears that Moser's return is getting closer and closer, not imminent yet, but still getting closer. How big, how important will Moser's return to the Lightning be? Looking for tickets to your next big event, whether it's a concert, a comedy show, or a sports game, finding the right ticket at the right price can be a headache. But with Game Time Picks, it has never been easier. So let me tell you how it works. With Game Time Picks, the app does all the hard work for you. It curates the best deals, so you don't have to waste time searching through endless ticket listings. I've been using Game Time Picks for a while now, and here is why I love it. The curated details make it super simple to find great tickets at a great price. No more sifting through thousands of options. And I recently grabbed a super deal for a prime seat, and I could not believe the value. It was an absolute steal. $100, it seemed, maybe even more off of what that price should have been. And the seat view feature is a game changer. Before I even hit buy, I can see exactly what my seats look like in the venue, and I'll see the view that I get from my seat from the comfort of my own phone. It is so reassuring. And the best part, you're covered with Game Time's lowest price guarantee. Even if you find a better deal somewhere else, they'll refund 110% of the difference. Plus, your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time with easy cancellation options if something comes up. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply, but again, create an account and use the code below. Redeem LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And just to be clear, we are talking about J.J. Moser on his road back. Again, there is no sign that he is returning imminently. I am still under the impression that Moser will not be back until after the Four Nations. But one thing that I can say is that the Lightning have missed J.J. Moser over these last couple of months where he has been injured. Record-wise, there hasn't been that much of a difference with Moser and without him, but I think bringing J.J. Moser back is something that can really solidify the Tampa Bay Lightning in a playoff position in that Atlantic Division, because the Lightning were solidly in the playoff hunt with Moser in there. They've definitely fallen prey to some resurgent teams in the second half of the season while Moser's been out. But the Lightning have still maintained some semblance of control over their playoff future with a couple extra games in hand on the majority of their division. Something that I've noticed about the Lightning defense without JJ Moser is just less consistency. And I think something that the Lightning were really successful doing at the beginning of the season was just kind of mixing up their defensive looks, mixing up the way that their defense looked to the opponent, whether it was going 11 on 7 or, moving some of the lines around. It just kind of, they just switch things up. And without Moser, the Lightning really haven't been able to do that. A lot of the injuries for Tampa have been on the offensive side, but there have definitely been players that have stepped up in their absence, with Darren Radish being the guy stepping up in JJ Moser's absence, and just about every offensive player stepping up with a rash of center injuries, particularly in the most recent win.
Everyone's probably played center once in their life, so the best guy for it and kind of go for it. I think everyone's level just had to raise, and I think we did.
And the Lightning certainly did. Braden Point got some extra playing time and really stepped up. And the Lightning team has done that time and time again. They've had a lot of kind of small injuries over the course of the season, but JJ Moser has been the longest term injury for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And it came at a point where he was the second highest scoring defenseman on the Lightning, which frankly you might expect, but it took until Eric Chernak's most recently assist for Moser to fall to last among Lightning defensemen, with the exception of Steven Santini, Declan Carlisle, and Max Crozier, because they have spent the majority of the season in the AHL. And something that I really think that JJ Moser's return to action will bring for the Lightning is just more stability. And that's something the Lightning really haven't had injury-wise over the last couple months, because it seems like they have just been losing guy after guy to injury, and it's clearly weighing on the team as they battle through it in what's been a really tough start to 2025.
Boys made me work tonight. It's tough. It's tough losing anybody. When you lose centers, it's an issue. The only thing is, I mean, they lost Pinto early on too, so it's kind of 1 for 1. And yeah, it was that was a grind. And we spoke in the room during the game. Let's see what we're made of. We want to get ourselves back where we want to be. These are the games you have to win, and not only win them, but make sure it wasn't, we weren't sharing points, and the boys did.
And defense, I think, is one of the positions that, going up and down the system, the Lightning are really solid. I mean, you look at the farm system, and you've already seen it this season with the couple of defenders who have come up in Steven Santini, Declan Carlisle, and Max Crozier. Particularly Carlisle and Crozier show that right now they can make an impact and be regular NHL D-men. So I think Moser's injury is certainly, it's going to help the Lightning with that stability. It's going to give those younger Lightning defensemen a little bit more time to mature and get NHL ready with the Syracuse crunch. But I still think the Lightning will need an extra piece. I think even with Moser, even with Moser comes back quickly, getting him back before the month of March, all but I think guarantees the Lightning a playoff spot. Obviously, you still got to play the rest of the games out, but I think with the extra offensive firepower that that Moser brings, it took until Ryan McDonough's empty net goal today for any other Lightning defenseman not named Victor Hedman to equal Moser's goals output at just 2, which isn't that much. But Moser did it in about 25 games. Ryan McDonough has done it in 50. And when it comes to even strength or excluding empty net goals, only Victor Hedman has more than JJ Moser among Lightning defensemen this season. So that little bit of extra offense, that sense of stability on defense that Moser will bring back, I think is definitely going to help the Lightning stay in playoff position and really solidify themselves as a playoff team and an elite team in the Atlantic Division. I still think they need to make a move at the deadline, though. I'd really like to see the Lightning maybe add another defenseman, but with the depth in their minor league system on defense, and I think the forwards there might need a little bit more time, I'd really like to see the Lightning add another two-way forward And especially, like, I think that coupled with JJ Moser hopefully returning soon, ideally in the next series. But again, I'm not sure that is going to be a possibility. But a close return for JJ Moser is certainly something that will help the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think between that and maybe a move or two at the trade deadline, the Lightning can be a real threat in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But JJ Moser certainly makes the Lightning a bigger threat. And getting him back will do great things for the Tampa Bay Lightning as they continue this playoff run. And we'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow, previewing the second game against the Senators. But for today, I want to thank all of you for tuning in to Locked On Lightning once again and making it your first listen every day. Now, for your second listen, make sure to check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, please give us a like, a follow, a subscribe. We really appreciate your guys' support because we do the show for you, the fans. So thank you guys for tuning in. Go Bolts, and we'll talk tomorrow.